Welcome back to the Always On Point podcast with Kristen Ambos. Today I am here with Monte Reyment from Take Action Realty.
What's up?
What's going on? I'm excited to have you on. In full disclosure, this podcast could go all different kinds of ways.
It could be about 3 hours long, too.
It could. So,
Just kidding.
Full disclosure,
Things going on.
Monte is a good friend of mine, and he actually got into the real estate business now how many years ago?
Almost 7.
7.
As an investor.
Yes.
And then I became an agent 6 years ago.
Yes. And then a broker.
A year and a half ago.
A year and a half ago.
Yep.
So see how fast things can fly when you start having fun in real estate.
Yeah.
Your whole world can flip upside down because you came from a completely different.
Right. Yeah, I was what I would call it as like a middleman for high school student athletes and
Yes.
colleges. So my job was essentially it was like 10 different hats all in one, which is perfect for my ADD brain. I'm sure you guys will find that out. I have it in real estate as well. But my job was basically to life coach student athletes through the recruiting process. In return, it was a part sales job. It was part guidance counselor. It was coaching. It was mentoring. It was videoing. It was writing people about their grades. So there was a lot of stuff that I had to do along with teaching people how to network and connect with college coaches and really how to be adults before they're adults, which is the tricky part, which is also relatable to what I'm doing right now.
I was going to say every one of those things is relatable to real estate.
Absolutely.
You're coaching, you're mentoring, you're educating, you're filming, you're marketing.
It's everything.
You're coaching people not to do things and buy things while they're doing their mortgage and things like that. So very relatable.
Yeah, I guess educating 10,000 kids on the recruiting process was really great practice for this role because I'm doing the same thing with my agents now. A lot of the principles that I learned came in that direction, and real estate is really especially for newer agents.
Yeah.
And that's what I really love doing is teaching the new agents how to just be the best versions of themselves, not on necessarily even being a best realtor, but being a best human. Because I think if you can be the best version of yourself, people are going to trust you more. They're going to relate to you more, and they're going to, people buy from people who they like and trust.
Absolutely. That know, like, and trust has always been huge.
Yep.
As I always say is, as cliche as it sounds, it's 100% factual.
It's true.
And you've got to really, like the person for sure, but trust.
Yeah.
You've got to trust who you're working with and things of that nature. And I feel very lucky because I've gotten to kind of get a front seat to your path since we were friends prior to college.
You want to tell them the crazy story about how we...
So this is so funny. So we went to separate high schools, but same, like very close in area, and had a lot of the same friends. And then we're at the same college together. And his group of friends in college and my group of friends in college all dated each other.
And they all married
And they
each
all
other.
ended up getting married. So it's just so funny that happened. So we've been close by friendship through schools and now in careers.
Yeah, and it's been fun watching you grow, and you've been a great mentor to me. Just
Thank you.
Teaching on the lending side of things and learning from you and doing it the right way, right?
Yeah.
There's people out there that will, they're hacks, right? And then
Absolutely.
there's people out there for the dollar, and you do it the best way. You educate, and anytime I've ever had a question, whether I referred somebody to you or not, you were always available to answer those questions, and just like I was able to pick your brain freely and openly, which has been huge. Yeah,
it is. And thank you for saying that. I swear to God, I didn't pay him, but I appreciate it. Because that is huge. And even so my career, I've based my career on transparency and education and just being honest. And, I do believe in shopping. I do, for your rate, for your realtor, for anything, because you've got to have that good fit, right? And I don't stop ever trying to educate myself there. This morning, even I was watching somebody else's podcast, and the thing they were talking about, it was 2 mortgage owners, but what they were talking about is how their mission is they're not going to stop until all the hacks. So all the wannabes, who are just selling on a whim are gone. And I obviously resonated with that huge. And I got to see you this Saturday. I was actually in the office doing a pre-approval for a client, and and I work outside of Monte's office, and it was crazy because the client that came in to me because his loan officer, all I did was say, okay, let's go over your income. He happened to be self-employed. Okay, great. I work with a lot of self-employed people. And he's like, oh, thank God. He goes, the other lender I was working with said, oh, you're self-employed. There's probably going to be an issue with that. Because he had no idea how to calculate self-employed income. So he made the borrower feel lesser than because he didn't know how to calculate self-employed
It's funny you bring
income.
that up because on the real estate side of things, I had the exact same thing happen to me on Saturday. A person had, who knows my cousin, had reached out, and he was working with another agent.
Yeah.
And he's been pre-approved for VA. And that agent is steering him away from using VA because
grinds
it's
my
just
core,
a
you know
little
that.
bit. I know it does. And it just because it's a little bit more difficult to get things through. Maybe competitively it is when in a competitive market, but right now it's not. And so I had a great conversation with him yesterday. He's like, well, I'm reluctant, I could go conventional, but I'm like, you earned your VA. You earned it.
Thank you.
You secured that for yourselves. You sacrificed potentially your life for us.
Right.
And you're going to have a better rate. And if we can do this, knowing that you're willing to go conventional is great.
Right.
Because that gives us more leverage. But we're going to do everything we can to push this through VA because it's better for you.
100%. And I've always thought, even when it was competitive, the sellers shouldn't get to dictate.
Right.
If the financing can get done, it can get done. Yeah. And I can name 20 deals offhand that didn't get approved conventionally that got approved VA.
And so, VA it's minor stuff usually.
It is.
You can tell by a house if it's, the foundation's caving in and other things like that. Of course, you're going to have an honest conversation, go, hey, I'm probably not going to work out.
Yes.
But any other time, it's minor repairs, usually less than $1,000, and the interest that they're saving alone in the first 2 months or 3 months already is better than, that $1,000 in repairs. So it burns me as well but it's also great for me because then they give up on the other agent, they come to me. So that's great.
I'll give you another thing to put up your sleeve while we're talking.
Oh boy.
Little bomb with VA.
Yeah.
Let's say there's a barn outside that needs chipping paint.
Okay.
How many lenders have you heard won't do that?
Enough.
So
I also know what you're about to say.
You do?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Awesome. So if the buyer's okay with it, they can put in a letter to the appraiser, and the appraiser can waive needing that chipping paint in order to close on that house.
Yeah.
It's a little loophole with VA that I guarantee you 99% of lenders don't know.
I did that
and
on a
that's
listing
how we can
that I
get
had.
things done.
Yep.
You did. I love it.
Yep.
See?
I did that on a listing I had.
Awesome. And how did you know? What did you do to know that? Like, I love this because you dug in somewhere.
I had it. Well, so if you're the listing agent, right? Like this whole business is 100% relationship driven, right? So I'm the listing agent. Of course, my job is to represent the seller and get the job done. So the first conversation that I have is when this person submits the offer is one, to call that lender and say, here's the situation. I have this beautiful house. It's old. It needs a little bit of work. It's got peeling paint. It also has a barn that has a foundation that's going in. And I forgot who the lender is. I'm a little disappointed in myself for that. But this is a year and a half or 2 years ago.
Fair enough.
So
we'll let it slide.
It was before I became a broker. But so it was, that happened. And the lender was very good. Similar situation. It's like, oh, we can deal with that. We can get around that. We'll just tell the appraiser that whatever it is, that we don't need to worry about the barn and we can make it exempt from the appraisal. Yeah. And I was like, okay, cool. Then let's get this thing done.
Here I thought I was dropping a good bomb on you and you already knew. Hey, nuts on that one again.
But that's
I'm
great
really
education.
impressed because a lot of real estate agents don't know that.
You have to find a way.
You do. So everything is figure-outable.
Yes, and you figure-outable. I like it. All right.
Everything's figure-outable. That's the word of 2025.
Put that down. Whoever's watching this, figure-outable.
I love it. Okay, keep going.
So I lost my track. But so my point is this, is until you exhaust every option for making that transaction get to closing, because at the end of the day, we want to win-win. Whether or not you represent the buyer or the seller, doesn't really make a difference. You want everybody to win. At the end of the day, you want your client to win more, but you want everybody to come out of the outcome happy. That's how a real estate transaction should be. And when there's questions or things that are hard, you exhaust those, which is the fastest way to learn how to become a better agent or how to become a better lender or really anything in any field for that matter.
Yes.
Until you solve that problem. And that's real estate related, is relationships and problem solving. That's what it was a problem. Until you exhaust every way to do it, you have to, because you owe it to both parties.
100%. You absolutely do.
And so once you can do that, then you can become a very good agent and a very good lender and very good at this business, because at the end of the day, that's what it is. And so, people like you, I call them. And there's other really good lenders that I work with that do the same thing.
Absolutely. There's just as many good lenders around here as there are not great lenders. Yep. Same thing with real estate agents.
Yeah, real estate agents, title companies, all of that has to come together into one.
Yes.
And that's, at the end of the day, you're getting it's the biggest transaction of your life. They always say that. For me, it's not anymore because I do, the investing side of things, but it is literally that person is going to take the biggest paycheck ever in their life, and that's going to change their life. And it's your job to make sure that happens with ease, because at the end of the day, you want fans, you don't want enemies.
Yep.
And you want
point.
referrals.
Yep.
So that's real estate 101. Really, it's if you break it down and make it really simple. And I'm writing a book right now, basically around this.
We forgot to add author to your title.
Oh yeah, well, whatever. It's only a chapter. It'll be a whole book when this is all done. But I have one chapter that was
got to start somewhere, right? We all have to start somewhere.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. We became #1 bestseller in Canada.
Yeah.
Of all places. So it was great.
Of all places, Canada. Okay.
Yeah, real estate on Amazon. We were the #1 bestseller for that book.
That's awesome.
Yep.
I remember that happening, but I didn't know it was. I knew it was up the ladder.
It was
but
only
I didn't
for a
know
couple of days, and then somebody else
still.
took over. I'm sure Kiyosaki got us after.
Yeah.
After the day or two. But.
Take the wins when you can get them.
Hey, one day on there is pretty
right?
good. I paid $900 for that book. I didn't get paid at all.
But if it can educate anyone, knowing you, that's the part of playing it forward.
Right.
Or paying it forward versus playing it, but both aspects of it. Like you're always somebody who's going to give into that.
Yep. Well, you want to provide value.
Right.
No matter what you can do, right?
Yes.
And if you go into it providing value and expecting nothing in return, it's going to be way better, because then you aren't selling. You're just, this is what I know. This is what's in here. It's coming out here. Take it for what it's worth.
Yes.
And eventually it comes back tenfold.
Yeah.
Every single time. You don't know when it's coming. You don't know where it's coming. I tell this story, and this is in the intro of the book I'm writing, is I had a conversation at a campfire about real estate.
Yeah.
And my brother is a very big real estate investor. We were with a bunch of investors. And it was my first year, and I was super excited about becoming an agent. And I still didn't know a ton, but I was passionate about it. And I was just blurting out all the things. As you can see, I'm a rambler. So this guy, I don't even remember having the conversation with him, but he came into my office, and this is right after I left my W-2. A lot of people start in real estate, and they have a W-2 for a while until they get comfortable. Either they're going to make it or not make it. And so I just ripped a Band-Aid off, and I was burned out with the last career. And about 16 months in is kind of like the real pain point, or it was. And I was like, how am I going to pay my mortgage in 2 months? Like, I had enough money for that. Residual still coming in from the last job, but it wasn't a lot. And I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to make my mortgage next month. Right. So this guy walks into he calls me, and he says, hey, I don't know if you remember me, but we had a great conversation around a campfire, and I'm excited about it. I've been following you on social media, and I really like what you're doing. I'd like to talk to you about becoming my agent. I'm like, great, come on, come into my office. We can meet. He comes into my office. He buys 11 houses from me. Now, in that campfire, I don't know what I was spewing, but it was valuable to him.
Something that
and it was
enough
to trigger him. But it was and actually today I have a closing for one of those properties now that is 4 years later that he's selling. So now I'm going to have 11 houses that I got him. At some point, he's going to sell all of them.
Yep.
And I'm going to get those too. So that's really what it's about, is you don't know where that's coming from. You could have somebody in the crowd sitting there going, overhearing it and going, who the hell was that guy?
Yeah.
And then there it is.
And that's I know what it was. It was the passion. You speak with passion because you do enough educating that, I'm like you. I'm a rambler. We've talked about it on the show where I go off on tangents, but that's part of the realness of the show that I love, that I don't ever want to take away.
Right.
But with that being said, That's exactly where it came from. And I want to, first of all, thank you for being so transparent, because one of the key factors of getting in this business is the monetary side.
Yeah.
Because you don't know when that next paycheck is coming.
Nope.
And it's something that's far off and overlooked, where people just see the success, that they don't know that it's an everyday, like, this is what we deal with internally, especially when we're getting into I always say 3 years. 1 year to learn it, 2 to get good, 3 year golden. You can make it 3 years living extremely minimally with, monetary value, but you just saying out loud, like, listen, I was 16 months in, I wasn't sure I was going to make my mortgage payment. That's real. And I guarantee you that's still a lot of what goes on day to day.
Yeah.
And where you spun it because you were still so adamant and talking about it, and you were going to find a way to make it work. And I believe that of you.
Right.
On the other side of it,
it's like becoming a broker. I'm doing the same thing over again now.
Yes.
I'm 18 months in, and I think I finally figured it out, kind of thing.
Right.
And now I have another year to roll and build it.
People just assume because you're a broker or business owner that you're super rich and you don't have to work anymore.
100% of that commission comes my way now.
Yeah.
I wish.
Not so much, right? Not so much. And that's the part of the give and the take, but that's also part of the risk and the reward.
Yeah.
And building something that is going to be the true transparent way to do things is huge. And I love that your mission, when you looked at me, went on your own, you're like, I have to bet on me. There's no one else that will.
Yeah.
It still resonates with me from the day
told me
you
that
said that.
When you switched too.
Like, I have to, I made a career switch that I really never saw coming about 6-7 months ago. And I played over and over in the back of my head. What you said is, if I don't take a risk on me to go for my dreams and what I see in my position in the real estate or mortgage market.
Yeah. If you don't bet on yourself, nobody else will.
No. So
it's different. And now that, like, I'm in the leadership role of, we have, 13 or 14 agents now that work in the brokerage, either full-time or part-time. And it's interesting because they're coming into a new career, right? And this I think can go for anybody's career. And you can tell right away the ones that are going to be automatically really good.
Right.
But I can see the potential.
That drive.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, I don't have to worry about too much about you. I just got to make sure you're knowledgeable, you're up to speed on contracts, and that you're ethically and morally doing the right things, but you're going to be fine. And then you have those other ones that come in who, kind of dip their toes in it a little bit.
Yeah.
And you can see their potential, but they can't.
Yes.
And those are the hard ones. Those are the ones where you really have to drive and continue to, like, make sure that they believe. And we have a sign in our office when you walk right in, it says believe, like from Ted Lasso.
Yes.
We have that sign. And sometimes I have to go tap that sign myself and remember, like, holy crap. I almost swore there, but I think holy crap.
We'll mark this one E.
Yeah.
Explicit.
Yeah. A little S word in there. So, but you have to go in there and remember, like, why am I doing this? Why are we here? And then, and then a Jenna will come into the office and she'll bring her bubbly energy, or, Ashley or Tay are just coming up with ideas for the next thing, or Rob's there just like, what can I do next to support? And so it's really cool to see, like, you can see the ones that are working for it all the time and the ones that are like, I don't know if I'm going to make it or not. And they might not, but that's only because they don't believe. If I hire you, it's because I believe in you.
Right. 100%. And we live and we learn, right? Mm-hmm. Like, as we're growing our businesses and as we're growing, this can go for any business, but we're obviously speaking in our world. I've heard the expression hire slow, fire fast. There has some relevance for sure.
I heard hire fast, fire faster.
Yeah, that too. I mean, right? Because at the end of the day, in another podcast previous to this, when we talked about how huge reputation is, because it is, and one person on your team can really wreck that reputation that you work so hard for. And sometimes people just grow apart, and that's okay. And then other times people come together, and that's where it really sticks. And having people around you that have that same vision or that same dream and those same goals. I'm somebody who is a super high energy person, and the expectation is go, go, go. But the expectation is go, go, go with having the authenticity, with being able to communicate and get the job done. And if I work with somebody who thinks mediocrity is okay, that's where it doesn't work for me.
Right.
And so that's a part of, getting to know it as well and seeing where those things go and meeting those dreams.
Yeah. And that's, at the end of the day, that's what matters is like, we're both in leadership positions now. Is like, are you going to run with us or not?
Yes.
And if you are, great. We're going to throw every resource we can at you to make sure that you get there.
100%.
Within reason, of course.
Yeah.
But, we're still in startup mode and budgetary and all that other stuff. If I had unlimited budget, it'd be really easy. But that's all part of our growth too, is figuring that part out now is, okay, now we're the big dogs. We put ourselves in this position. We earned it. But we also have our startup mode,
right?
That is restart. So.
And even with the startup mode and restart, Monte, I've gotten the opportunity to write a lot of deals for you and your team, and you guys do phenomenal work. So thank you for giving us old dogs some
you're the same age as me
to work at. I just feel like
you've just been around a lot longer.
But no, thank you so much to you and your team. And I'm really wishing you guys a huge success, because I think the newer visions coming in the real estate world are also some that are needed. For sure. And I agree. And I thank you again for your tutelage and your mentorship, and just being an ear that I can go, pop an idea on and go, is this doable or not? Kind of thing. So, and I'll always be honest with you. Oh yeah, you are. I remember the first time. So back to a little story about Kristen used to bartend at one of our favorite bars. Yes. This is a long time ago. So that's how we reconnected kind of there after college, after a few years. And I went in there and was like, I want a mortgage. And you're like, I'm not working with you unless you have over a 640. And I remember that stuck with me. And I was like, God damn. I was pretty bossy. You were. And you're like, I was like, okay, well, that set a fire though. Cause I went and got a credit repair person. And then, I ended up, back then you could get a mortgage with like a 500 credit score. It didn't matter. And stated income and all that other stuff. Even I couldn't get a mortgage then. And so like, I really worked on getting my credit repaired and fixed and all that other stuff. And I was looking out for you, my boss. You really were. You were. No, and that was true. You were up. You weren't a B. You were just like straight honest with me and be like, I wouldn't work with you unless you're over this. Straight shooter. And it was probably in that 2005 area, because that's about when I was, doing that. And so it worked. It ended up switching up and getting my credit fixed and doing all that. Whether you might not even realized you said it to me at that time. No, but it stuck with me. I don't remember saying it. And then, so this is how crazy mortgages were in 2005 though. My wife was making $7.80 an hour, like just above minimum wage. She had a good credit score of over 700, and they gave us a loan for $190,000 to build our house. It was crazy. And I knew something in my gut wasn't right about what was going on, but I was still young in the industry at that time for myself. Yep. So I just remember going, I'm setting my parameters right now because there's something that's not right about a lot of this stuff. So I tried to stay away from that stuff, and I was glad I did. Yeah, well, you clearly did, because it worked. I'm glad my bossy just paid off. It worked. So it was crazy. And so we ended up getting this loan on a 7. You can't pay a mortgage on that at like 8.9% or something like that. Crazy. And so we did that, and I mean, I was making landscaping money and bartending money at the time, but it was still like, I was still in my early 20s figuring out life and trying to get over the fact that I wasn't an athlete anymore. Yeah. And it worked. And I just fought through it. And that's how it goes. But we got lucky. And then we refinanced with you now twice, I think. And then, over the years when rates came down and things of that. Once my credit got over 640, Well, there's no better way to leave it at that. Like, listen, there are goals and mortgages, and then you can turn out to be a real estate owner. There you go. Take it from Monte. So thank you so much, Monte. Always a pleasure. Always a blast. For those of you listening, if you are interested in getting in touch with Monte, I'll be happy to get you his information. And we appreciate you. Our only ask is that you subscribe, and share this video with somebody that you may think could really get use out of it. So to that, we'll say goodbye, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.